Most people do not fail at fat loss because they don't care enough. They fail simply because nutrition was turned into something that it never was meant to be. Every year there's just the same rule, a new diet, a new villain, a new person, a new thing to blame because you're confused. And here's the real truth that most people don't want to hear. When your nutrition becomes stressful, it just stops working. There's no sustainability behind it. You end up going off board. Someone who's worked in the trades has a very busy schedule. I learned very quickly that nutrition was the key factor to every single problem I had going in my life. Whether it was stress, whether it was energy levels, whether it be getting enough sleep every single night. It was super substantial for me because being someone who worked in a stressful environment, it was very hard for me to stay energized while working full time and training for a marathon. But here's the thing most of you guys have wrong. If your nutrition was only sustainable when you were motivated or when you had access to those foods, it would never be sustainable. Nutrition is something that's supposed to add to your life. It's supposed to fuel you and add sustainability. If you are not willing to make that sustainable, you're never going to have a fulfilling life. As someone who works in the trades and was training for a marathon all summer, I can tell you the only reason why I was able to achieve those results was simply because I focused in on my nutrition, and that was my primary driver. We've all been there before. You get off work, it's 5 p.m., you're exhausted, you just want to sit down and do nothing. I get it. But what if I told you that there's a deeper meaning behind that? Well, let me ask you this. If I were to tell you that your nutrition would be the make or break decision for you to actually have energy and do the things that you want to do after work, would you consider prioritizing that in your life if you knew you could get a better return on investment in that? And if your answer is yes, then you're in the right space. It's like you're trying to follow rules that don't fit your lifestyle, and then you're bouncing back between extremes, which is adding more physical stress, which is adding more mental stress than physical. And that's really where your body runs into the ground. You're probably struggling because you feel overwhelmed. You probably get off work and you don't know what to eat. You most likely are that guy who probably comes home on a Friday night and just goes and eats junk food because that is the most convenient thing to do, is to go eat out after a long day. Trust me, I've been there. I used to tell myself all the time, yeah man, I earned this, man. I'm just gonna go get that burger. I'm just gonna go do this because I worked really hard that day and I had a physical day, so you know I deserve it. That's not the case. You need to cut that right there. When you're stressed out all day and then you have to get off work and worry about food, your body and mind doesn't feel safe. You constantly become irresponsible and everything seems to fall short. And when people hear the term whole food diet, you think it's boring, extreme, and unrealistic, right? Because it's too expensive and you don't want to put the time into doing it. And that's not what I mean at all. You see, there's something in life called perspective, and there's also something in life called systems. If you apply both of those, you will have a better result that you probably aren't even thinking about when your mind spikes the thought of whole food diet. Let's picture this for a minute. If you have a car and you put pour gas inside of that car, now that car is struggling to operate. It feels like it's having to catch up with itself all the time. So if you're to picture that analogy to your actual body, there's a high likelihood that the reason why you feel exhausted all the time is simply because of that reason. You are putting toxic fuel into your body, which is basically making your body work harder and you're not getting the results. So that correlates back to your body. Because the lower grade fuel you put in your body is going to give you the worst output on your body when it comes to physical health, mental health, and just overall well-being. Basically, you're setting your body up for failure. You're gonna crash out, you're gonna have less energy, and you're not gonna be as efficient to get through those long days. Haven't you noticed that when you eat foods that your body recognizes, you feel a lot better about yourself? You feel more energized? That's simply because your body understands them, and you need to understand that your gut health is superior. When you eat toxic foods, you are coating the insides of your intestines and your stomach with processed things. It's going to take longer for your body to A, break them down, and B, actually get output and energy from it. Your gut is like a furnace. It's like a fire. It's constantly burning all the time and metabolizing things. You overeat because the food that you're eating is essentially telling your body that I've had enough and I'm too exhausted to continue, so I'm just gonna stop right there. Things such as seed oils, sugars, fats, salts, look at it more on a neurological level. When you eat sugars, fats, and salts, they trigger a response in your brain, your dopamine system. That means your body's like, I like this. I'm just gonna eat more of it. By eating more of it, it makes your body crave that, makes it more convenient for it, and so it starts to forget what the things that are actually important and not what it needs, because it's fulfilling that with something else. You can basically look at it as a drug addiction. Your brain is now replacing the foods that once served you in your life for things that are short fixes. So if you were someone who eats donuts a lot, you eat ultra processed foods, chips, anything like that, they're just giving you an instant response of dopamine, but they will run you to the ground afterwards. How many times have you ate fast food and then felt really hungry 30 minutes after? And that is because you ate ultra processed foods that have no nutrient compounds to them, so your body just metabolizes them right away. And you're hungry, but you just ate 2,500 calories. And when you eat ultra processed foods, they are engineered to overconsume you. And that's the number one mindset switch I had as soon as I started to eat whole foods. I started to see my food as an energy source instead of pleasure. And by eating in a nutrient dense food diet, you're gonna have higher energy levels, you're gonna have fewer midday crashes, your mood's going to be stabilized, training sessions are going to be better, and your foods are predictable. Everything eliminates decision fatigue. It is very simple to a T that allows you to have more priority for the things in your life that are serving you, whether it's relationships, commitments, jobs, events, whatever you do in your free time. But here's the real catch that a lot of people get wrong. You think that eating whole foods 100% of the time you have to be stuck to this meal plan, your portions have to be controlled to a T, and that your life is significantly over from enjoying any of those processed goods. I'm here to tell you that is bullshit and that's a myth. If you think that eliminating processed foods for the rest of your life is something you want to do, by all means go do it. But the average person doesn't want to do that. You want to have sustainability because that's going to actually bring you success in the long run. This is where most people get wrong. You think that fat loss equals having to stay strictly on a whole food diet. That is not the case. There's something out there called the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time you are locked in on your whole food diets. You are giving your body that good fuel. The 20%, go enjoy yourself. You live one life, 365 days in a year. You are not going to die if you ate that cheeseburger on a Saturday. So when your nutrition is built on whole foods, you stop overthinking things, your life doesn't become significantly stressful around foods, and you can actually enjoy yourself. You are not being compressed and confined to one specific thing. This does not just impact your physical health, but it is a huge relief on your mental health. The number one reason why I say this is because it's not really about your physical at the end of the day. It's about your mental. If you can master and understand your mind and the things that you're putting in your body, you are going to have a higher likelihood of losing fat because it's just going to come natural to you. But if you build an unhealthy relationship around food where you think you have to eat this or you can never eat that again, that is not healthy. That is not about being fit and being healthy. You look at the grand term of healthy, I think it's sustainable. Whole foods makes your fat loss a lot easier because it eliminates that need for willpower. The foods that you're consuming are nutrient dense, meaning they're more satious, which keeps you full for longer. This will eliminate 90% of the problems that you have revolving around your stomach growling, having mood swings, constantly craving sweet treats. That is because you are not eating the correct amount of foods. When it comes down to science and biology, it is true. Your brain does not know the difference between a chicken breast and a donut. That is very true. It just knows stuff about calories. I would eat protein bars all the time. I would fast for long periods of time and preserve my calories and not space them out throughout the day. This ended up crashing out my hormones because I didn't have the right macronutrients to sustain myself. When you have a whole food diet, it actually regulates your hunger. Because you're eating satious foods that are filling, you no longer have those stomach pains and midday cravings for food, which are more likely going to throw you off of your current plan. When you have that ability to stay full for longer, that's what actually keeps you more consistent in the long run of your fat loss. Whole food diets make fat loss 10 times easier because it reduces the need for willpower. Fat loss requires consistency. You have to picture your fat loss in a 7-day time frame. In order for you to actually lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit for approximately 7 days to lose 1 pound of fat. If you are in a deficit that is somewhere between 300 to 500 calories below your maintenance. Now, if you take that and you have 1 day where you binge out, you are now throwing yourself out of that calorie deficit, or you are suffering and sacrificing calories on another day to make up and compensate for that. That's where most people go wrong, is you begin to eat a lot of food. Maybe you have that one cheat day, but every other day you're eating close to your maintenance. Now you've just put yourself in a surplus. You were not in a deficit. And the best fat loss plan is the one that you're going to stay consistent with. The one that you're going to stay consistent with requires the least amount of effort. Biggest problem I see with people is they talk about extreme diet. And this is exactly why extreme diets backfire. Extreme diets work in the short term because you cut out a bunch of calories right away. So your body immediately will burn that fat off and lose that weight. What people don't see, and the biggest problem with the keto diet in particular, is as soon as you start to reintroduce carbs or more calories, your body freaks out and starts storing it almost like it was in hibernation mode. That is because you have completely destroyed your insulin sensitivity and you haven't given your body the chance and your metabolism to adapt to the foods because you have taken it out. The more you take out and the more you restrict yourself, the more you will suffer in the long run. The harder it's going to be to sustain that. Think of it this way: if you're not planning on living your life without those foods, then why completely remove them? You need to operate and work with them. And that is exactly why structure and systems are super important when it comes to your nutrition and fat loss. On top of that, when you have extreme underfueling, that causes so much physical stress, mental stress, it dysregulates your hormones, affects your sleep quality, and probably affects the way you show up for loved ones or people that you work with. Eventually, it feels like a string that you're just pulling eventually until it snaps, and your body is going to give up, burn out, and break down. The key takeaway is that any system that requires you to ignore or eliminate all your foods is most likely the one that's going to fail you and make your body fight for it in the long term. What I teach instead is all about sustainability and structure. It's not about extreme. This is not about forcing yourself to stay on this strict meal plan. This is simply to add sustainability to your lifestyle and allow you to actually be happy. The most beneficial thing with whole foods is that they give you so much macro and micronutrients that you will be able to perform every single day of the week despite being in a calorie deficit. And I cannot stress this enough, because a lot of people think that you need to work harder in order to lose weight, but you really don't. You just need to be smarter. It is simple as that. When you think of it, simple routines are always the ones that stick. You could probably pause this video and name a numerous amount of times where you've done something small consecutively over and over. It could be as simple as brushing your teeth. Maybe the time you wake up, it's just programmed in your mind. That is the goal for your fat loss and your dieting. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Common things I hear is people saying, but if I go extreme, I'm going to lose more weight faster. You are, but you're not, because you're gonna win in the short term, but you're not gonna win in the long term. It's like be the tortoise, not the hare. The same concept applies. And to speak further on that, that's the reason why most people actually gain the weight back, and now you're fighting 2 times as hard to cut down that weight again. The number one thing I see is eating whole foods is boring. Staying in a consistent meal plan is boring. But you know what else is boring? Being out of shape, being stressed out, being burnt out, and not being able to actually feel fulfilled and happy. Ultimately, boring will beat chaos. So you can pick your battle. The biggest red flag I hear from people is, do I have to eat perfectly? No, you don't. Like I said earlier, you need sustainability. Eating perfectly is... When you picture your life, nothing is perfect, so nor is your nutrition. You need to add balance, and that's really where perfection is at. Perfectionism is the worst thing that you can fall into because it puts a false narrative in your head and forces you to do things that are unrealistic. Like I said, cutting out every single junk food item. That is unrealistic. And if you made it to the point in this video, here are the key takeaways. The goal is not to diet harder. The goal is simply to give you structure and allow you to feel calm and fulfilled during your fat loss journey, which a lot of people err over and don't understand. And that is all a result of not thinking about what you're going to eat, not trying to start over, and just not feeling guilty all the time, which we've all felt it before. When I was 40 pounds overweight, I felt the exact same way, and trust me, it is exhausting. People don't talk about that. So if you need help genuinely building a system for yourself and you are tired of just starting and stopping and seeing the scale go up all the time, click a link in the description. I'd love to book in a quick call with you and go over your current situation and see if I can help you.